Hello everyone, I am Nalini TJ, Maharani Science College for Women, working as a teacher of botany at Department of Botany. Welcome to our third session in Plant Physiology paper 8, that is on enzymes properties and vitamin properties of enzymes. So today we will discuss the properties of enzymes. Enzymes are the biological macromolecules which speed up the rate of biochemical reaction without undergoing any chemical change by themselves. Enzymes are highly selective catalysts that greatly accelerates both the rate and also they are very specific on their metabolic activities. And enzymes which initiate and accelerate the rate of biochemical reaction at optimum temperature and pH, and they are very sensitive to the pH and they are also sensitive to some of the inhibitors. How exactly the enzymes undergo denaturation by higher temperatures, so they are also sensitive to the temperature. Only at optimum temperature the enzymes are going to act or work better. Enzymes can accelerate the reaction in either direction. Sometimes the enzymes are also having the reversible property. So the reversibility of the reaction is another important property of the enzyme. And enzymes chemical nature, how exactly they are, how the proteins are, how they are going to act in a reaction mixture, their colloidal nature also important in the property of the enzyme. Let's see the important properties of the enzyme. These are the important properties of enzymes. First one, the catalytic nature. Second, the colloidal nature. Third, heat sensitivity, pH sensitivity, specificity, and also reversibility of the reaction. These are the 6 main properties of the enzymes. Let's study one by one. First one, catalytic property. Like any other inorganic catalyst, these enzymes are active even though when they are present in very small proportions, and they remain very much unchanged even after the reaction. Their chemical composition will be as it is when even after the completion of the catalytic function. Only small amount of these catalysts are very much enough to undertake the acceleration of the reaction, and designs remain unchanged after the reaction. Even the conformation or the structure of the enzyme remains unchanged. And very importantly, the turnover number of the enzyme. It is unique for unique enzyme because the enzymes which act upon the molecules are very less sometimes. The enzymes which acting upon many number of substance in other instances. For example, carbonic anhydrase is the fastest enzyme because it is going to involve 6 million substrates and convert them into products within a minute. Likewise, another definition for turnover number is that the number of substrate molecules converted into one molecule of enzyme per second, even its active site is saturated with the substrate, which range from 100 to 3 into 10 to the power of 6. This turnover number for the enzyme catalase has been calculated as 10 to the power of 6. Okay, likewise there are so many capacities in which the enzymes are going to act. So we will never tell the enzyme in a particular proportion like it is in so much milligrams, but it is measured. The capacity of the enzyme is always measured with the rate of the reaction only with their activities. Enzyme activity is equal to moles of the substrate converted into product per unit time. The rate of appearance of a product or the rate of disappearance of a substrate, that is going to measure the quantity of the enzyme, or the enzymes are expressed in that way. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Next property is colloidal nature. We all know colloids are nothing but the particles which are having the size from 1 to 100 nanometers in any mixture. Even though they are heterogeneous mixture, they seems to be very much homogeneous. Very good example is milk. In milk, if you keenly observe, the liquid which is dispersed, the proportion of the liquid which is dispersed, and that is the milk protein, lactose containing milk protein, is very less in the water. Water will be the dispersed medium. Okay, like that liquid mediums will be seen in the milk as an emulsion. So it is a colloidal solution. Likewise, enzymes are also in the nature of colloidal substances. Many proteins are in the form of colloids. Since all the enzymatic enzymes are proteinaceous, we see this important property, that is, they are of colloidal dimensions and are present in large surfaces for reactants in water. And present large surfaces, the enzymes chemical structure, or they are present as large surfaces for reactants in water to facilitate the enzymatic reaction, so that the conformation of the active site, which is going to allow the reactants to come and bind, everything is going to help the enzymes to work better. So the colloidal nature of the enzyme is an important property of the enzyme. As the enzymes are of high molecular weight compounds of proteins and large in size, they show a very slow rate of diffusion. So even though they seems to be very much homogeneous, but they'll be little bit different in their particle size. Hence, form the colloidal solution in water. So these are colloidal in nature. For your information, colloidal substances are those when the size of the particles is between 1 to 100 nanometer in heterogeneous mixture. These are the 6 types of colloids that are known. You can go through it, how exactly the dispersed phase is the quantity which is lesser in proportion. For example, like solute in a solution. And dispersed medium is the solvent in the solution. It will be in larger proportion. So it is going to become a colloid or not. And which are the examples if so? From gaseous medium to liquid medium and solid gas, liquid gas, like that, we can differentiate nearly 8 types of colloids. Only gas and gas, that is in the air, is not a colloidal, even though it is a mixture of many gases, which is very much homogeneous in its proportion, containing nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, etc. So this colloidal nature of the enzymes is very important since they are going to allow a larger dimension in the water as a dispersion medium, which is very important for the substrates to act upon the enzyme. Then coming to the third property, that is sensitivity to heat and inhibitors. Enzymes are highly specific to heat. The temperature at which the enzymes act better is called as optimum temperature. Enzymes are very sensitive to heat, that is they are thermoliable, they are sensitive to heat. Is liable is sensitive. They are inactivated at very low temperature. Even very low temperature, is not safe for the enzyme activity. At very high pH temperature like 60 degree to 70 degree Celsius, usually they are destroyed or they get denatured. Low molecular weight enzymes are comparably more heat stable. When compared to the higher molecular weight enzymes, low molecular weight enzymes are quite better and they are heat stable. Enzymes are also sensitive to certain inhibitors because these inhibitors will be having the same conformation as that of the substrates, and they are going to attack the active sites, and hence the enzyme activity will be stopped. So they are very highly sensitive to the inhibitors. While some inhibitors may partially inhibit their activity, or other inhibitors like poisons, they completely destroy the enzymatic protein and ceases the enzymatic activity, stops the enzymatic activity. Enzymes are very unstable compounds, mostly soluble in water and also dilute solvents like glycerol, sodium chloride and dilute alcohol. Enzymes are actively functional only at an optimum temperature around 45 degrees centigrade. 37 to 45 degrees centigrade. They are most suitable in the normal body temperature, that is 37 degree Celsius. These two are the graphs. There we can see the rate of enzymatic activity, enzyme activity with respect to temperature. At 45 degrees Celsius, the enzyme activity is quite better. Here also in this diagram we can see both the temperature and also the pH at which the enzyme acts better can be seen. Around 45 degrees centigrade, till that you can see the maximum enzymatic activity. Enzymatic activity starts increasing and it starts suddenly decreasing after 45 degrees centigrade because the enzymatic protein starts to denature. That is how the enzymes act only best at a optimum temperature and pH. Coming to the pH, changing the pH of its surroundings will also change the shape of the active sites in the enzyme molecule. This contributes the folding of the enzyme molecule, its shape, and also the shape of the active sites is completely differed. So it fails to attract, fails to bind the substrate molecule. Hence, pH also plays a very important role in the enzymatic activity. Hence, most of the enzymes are very much pH sensitive. Extremes of pH also denatures the enzymes. Either too much acidic or too much alkaline pH is not good for the enzymatic activity. You can see here 6.5 to 7.5 will be the optimum pH for most of the enzymes to act on. So this is the graph which is showing rate of reaction and the pH. See, from 7 the pH, the enzyme activity at 7 pH, the reaction rate starts droop. It is going to reduce. So pH sensitive. Enzymes work inside and outside the cell. For instance, most of the digestive enzymes are present outside the cell in the lumen of the alimentary tract or small intestine. So where the pH is kept at 7 to 7.4. Cellular enzymes will work best at this pH range. Different parts of the digestive system produce different enzymes. These differ in their optimum pH levels. We can see in this diagram, chymotrypsin is one such enzyme which works better around 7, pH 7 will be the maximum enzymatic activity, and then the activity will be reduced. And in case of cholinestases, the activity is very much reduced at the pH 6, and in pepsin the activity will be very much high at about pH 1.5 to 2, and it is going to drop from that pH level. And in pepine, the enzymatic activity is very much steady or normal, steady in around 4 to 8 pH. So it is neither affected by acidic nor affected by the alkaline pH. Then coming to the specificity, enzymes are highly specific in very many aspects. Enzymes are specific in their action, particularly usually act on a particular substrate to catalyze a particular reaction. So these are the sensitivity, specificity of the enzymes. Enzymes are specific at the bond making and breaking of bonds, that is bond specificity, group specificity, substrate specificity, optical specificity, geometrical specificity, and cofactor specificity. These are the important specificity at which the enzymes work better. Bond specificity, it is also called as relative specificity. Here the enzyme is specific for a particular bond. For example, peptidase is specific for peptide bond, lipase for ester bond in a lipid molecule. Likewise, even both are proteolytic enzymes, the bond specificity is highly important. Then coming to group specificity, it is also called as structural specificity. Here the enzyme is specific for a group. For example, pepsin, an endopeptidase, hydrolyzed the peptide bond in which the amino group belongs to aromatic amino acids, that is phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. So thus even the structural specificity, where the enzyme is specific for a particular group, plays a very important role in the enzyme activity. Then coming to substrate specificity, it is also called as absolute specificity, because most of the enzymes will work upon only one substrate, a particular substrate. Very rarely the same enzyme will act upon 2 or 3 substrates. For example, arginase act only on arginine, carbonic anhydrase acts only upon carbonic acid. Likewise, substrate specific, they are highly specific, so this specificity is also called as absolute specificity. Then optical specificity, it is also called as stereo specificity. This is highest specificity shown by the enzyme. Here the enzyme is specific not only for the substrate but also for its optical configuration. For example, levo, dextro, that is left, rotation towards left and right, where exactly the bond to be cleaved is present, like that. L amino acid oxidase acts on the L amino acids, not on the dextrorotatory amino acids, not on the dextrorotatory amino acids. Similarly, alpha amylase act only upon alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage but of the starch and glycogen, but is not able to hydrolyze 1,4 beta glycosidic linkages. Beta glycosidic linkages of cellulose, the enzyme amylase cannot act upon it. So likewise, stereo specificity or optical specificity, or the where exactly the atoms are present in a molecule, also plays a very important role on the enzyme activity. Then comes the one more diagrammatic example for stereospecificity. You can see alpha 1,4 linked glucose is very much suitable for the activity of alpha amylase, but alpha amylase fails to recognize the beta position in case of the D-glucose. Next comes the cofactor specificity. They are highly specific even to the non-proteinaceous group attached to the enzyme molecule, which helps in the formation of the specific active sites. So cofactor specificity also plays a very important role, not only specific to the substrate but also they are highly specific to the assisting cofactors. Then comes geometric specificity. Here the specificity is quite less. Some enzymes, they will work with a small range of similar substrate having similar structural geometry. For example, alcohol dehydrogenase can oxidize methanol and also N-propanol to aldehyde. So the substrates which are geometrically similar, few enzymes, they act upon. Enzymes are highly specific in their action. So here is a diagrammatic representation how exactly the active sites, the conformation or the structure of the active site must be always suitable for the substrate structure. Then only the substrates will come and bind to the active site and they effectively convert them into products. This is the enzyme with the active sites. These are the two substrates. So since the active site is matching the conformation of the substrate, they come and bind to the enzyme and they form the temporary enzyme substrate complex. Later they are going to convert into products, but this enzyme will be released without undergoing any change. This is because the shape of the active site and also the binding, how exactly the chemical reaction takes place. Next, last property of the enzyme, that is reversibility of reaction. In most of the cases, reactions catalyzed by the enzymes are reversible upon the requirements of the cell. But in some cases, this reversible reaction, forward reaction will be assisted by one enzyme and backward reaction with the another enzyme. Most probably sometimes the enzymes are not reversible at all. We can take a simple example, ammonium chloride converting into ammonia and hydrogen chloride. It is a reversible reaction. Then coming to the vitamin properties of enzymes. In the chemical composition in the last session, already we have discussed how exactly the most of the coenzymes which help in the enzymatic activity are the vitamins, are derivatives of the vitamins. What are vitamins? Vitamins are nothing but the substances which are highly necessary for the normal functioning of the body. So we need most of the vitamins in our diet to stay healthy. Since the vitamins are having the capacity to change the conformation of the enzymes and produce the required active site, they are highly essential to make the enzyme strengthen for the enzymatic reactions. We all know over the past 100 years, scientists have identified and isolated 13 vitamins required for the human diet. Vitamins are divided into two broad categories, that is fat soluble vitamins, ADEK vitamins, and water soluble vitamins, that is B complex and also vitamin C. Those two are the water soluble vitamins. All fat soluble vitamins contain higher proportion of hydrocarbon structural components. There are 1 or 2 oxygen atoms present, but the compounds are highly non-polar. In contrast, the water-soluble vitamins contain large numbers of electronegative oxygen and nitrogen atoms, which can engage hydrogen bonding with water. This is the nature of the water-soluble vitamins. They contain large number of electronegative oxygen and also nitrogen atoms. So, water-soluble vitamins act as coenzymes, or they are required for the synthesis of coenzymes. So, most of the water-soluble vitamins are highly helpful in the synthesis of coenzymes. So, these vitamins, water-soluble vitamins, play a very important role in activating most of the coenzymes. Fat-soluble vitamins are important for a variety of physiological functions. They are also very important. Our body cannot develop vitamins. We need to get these vitamins through our diet in order to stay healthy. We can see how exactly the vitamin which shows the enzyme which shows the vitamin properties. Vitamins as organic cofactors and coenzymes. For example, B3, vitamin B3, that is niacin, is going to be the precursor for NAD. It is going to be the precursor material for the formation of NAD. So that they are very helpful in synthesizing this NAD as a coenzyme. So it will be highly important. So enzymes are also showing the vitamin properties, since niacin is capable of making the conformation of the enzyme proper by adding the coenzyme cofactor NAD. And vitamin B5, that is pantothenic acid, is also called as the derivative of the CoA, that is coenzyme A. So it is a precursor which is going to help in the formation of CoA. Minerals, on the other hand, are inorganic cofactors, or not carbon based, hence we call it as inorganic. So these minerals which are also helping as cofactors in our body. For example, magnesium ions are highly required for the activity of DNA polymerase. Calcium ions, which are important cofactors, they are critically important for the formation of the teeth and bone. So always the organic and also the inorganic cofactors, they are going to help in the activity of the enzymes. One more important coenzyme, that is heme protein. That heme portion of the hemoglobin molecule is an example for coenzyme as a chief cofactor. Why it is called coenzyme? Because it is a organic component which is loosely bound to the apoenzyme. In case of RBCs, that is red blood corpuscles present in the blood vessels, they contain several hemoglobin molecules which act as cofactors. This heme protein which carries oxygen and which is going to help in the oxidation. Next, coming to the another important property of the enzyme, because most of the enzymes are useful in clinical diagnosis. Why we use enzymatic tests? Even COVID test is an enzymatic enzyme protein test, that is serological test, and also there is one RT-PCR test. In the same manner, most of the tests we use enzymes in testing, that is clinical diagnosis. An enzyme test is the blood test or urine test at measure level of certain enzymes to process how will the body system function and whether there has been any tissue damage. So most of the enzymes, if you test for, then they will show is there any deformation in the tissue. Only the enzyme testing will be helpful in detecting or in diagnosing the inner body anatomical deformations. Okay, common enzymes used in the clinical diagnosis are alanine aminotransferase, also called as glutamate pyruvate transaminase, that is GPT, and alkaline phosphatase, amylase, aspartate aminotransferase, creatine kinase, lactate dehydrogenase are other clinically important enzymes. They help in clinical diagnosis. This completes the properties of enzymes and also how the vitamin properties of enzymes are seen. Most of the vitamins are the derivatives of most of the coenzymes are the derivatives of vitamins, are directly they are vitamins which are helping in the enzymatic activity. So enzymes are the biocatalysts because they control the rate of the biochemical reaction. They are of colloidal dimensions, so they help in the reaction, enzymatic reactions, by providing colloidal dimensions in the dilute solutions or water as a medium. So remain unchanged at the rate of end of the reaction. Sorry, it is wrongly typed here. Remain unchanged at the end of the reaction. They are needed only in smaller proportions. They are highly specific. We saw so many specificity of the enzyme groups, and they work best under optimum conditions of pH, temperature, and they are highly sensitive even to the heat and inhibitors, most of the inhibitors. They may be needed in very small proportions of coenzymes and cofactors assisting in the functioning of the enzymes. Thus, the enzymes are highly important proteins which take the assistance of vitamins and derivatives of the vitamins to work better. Hence, we see most of the vitamin deficiencies are mainly going to damage a particular biochemical reaction or show some symptomatic diseases, mainly because of the failure of this enzymatic activity. This completes our properties of enzymes session, and these are some of the references. Happy learning.